Hey everyone, welcome to my new video. Today I want to make a little house illustration based on a Simpsons house that I made recently. So let's get right to it, and remember, if you want to see more of these tutorials, hit that subscribe button and that bell button if you want to get notified when I release something new. Now let's switch to the layout view and let's start by adding a plane, of course. So Shift A, mesh plane. Let's scale this up 4 times, so press S, 4, enter, and now we can start building our house. So move the cursor a little bit, so it's shift right mouse button, press shift A, add another plane. Let's scale this up, so tap into the edit mode, scale this up, and scale this on the y-axis as well, so SY, and maybe a little bit more. We can tab out, press G, shift Z to move this into place a little bit better. And remember, you can find the shortcuts right here in the corner of the viewport. So let's extrude this, something like that. And now we can extrude the roof. So press 2 for edge select, select this one, shift click this one, right click and subdivide. So they'll create this subdivision and some end-ons right here, but I don't care about that right now. So let's select this edge, press G, Z and move this up so we have a little nice house shape. We can maybe make this lower, so select these top faces and bring this down a little bit. And now we can press slash on the numpad to isolate this, remove this face on the bottom, we won't need that. And now we can cut it in half, so press Ctrl R to create the loop, right click to release, and now press 3 for face select, select this front face, and we'll create this kind of door shape. So there are several ways how to do that. Probably easiest way would be to use a boolean, but if you don't want to use booleans for some reason, there's a way to do that. So let's just press I to inset. If you press B, you disable boundary inset, so that means wherever the face ends, that there won't be any inset at all. So right now, just delete this face. Select these 2 edges, so to edge select these 2 edges, press X and only edges and faces, and they'll leave us with this. Now we can go to the vertex select these 2 vertices, press Ctrl B and then V additionally to create some vertex bevel. And now with the mouse wheel you can increase number of the cuts, do it like this, and now select the last 2 and press Alt M and add center to merge this. And now if we go to the edge select, we can select these loops all around and create an end-on right there. So that's a nice little cut without the booleans. And now if we go to the edge select again, select this edge, Control click here to select the whole loop, press E and X to extrude inside, and F to fill with another end-on. So that'll be base for our door. And now we can create a window, so press I, disable boundary, make this smaller a little bit. Let's look from the front and move this up a little bit. Okay, and now we can insert this as well. So that'll be base for our window. And now we can select the roof. So go to the face select by pressing 3, select the top faces, and press P to separate, enter. Now tab out, select the roof, and we can select this loop and press Ctrl X to dissolve that. We can select all, press SY to scale this, and now edge select this edge, press G twice, that'll enable the sliding, and if you hold Alt you can go outside, so we can create this nice kind of overlap, and here as well, so press G twice and Alt key and create a roof like that. We can exit the local view, so we have our background visible there as well. We can now finish the house. So first of all, I think the roof would need to be extruded, so press A, E and extrude on the Z axis like that, and we can leave it like this. Now select the original house mesh and we'll make this smooth, so right click shade smooth, and don't worry about this, we'll fix that right away. So go to the object data properties, normals, and enable auto smooth, go all the way to the 180 degrees, go to the modifiers and add a bevel modifier. Right now we want to disable climb overlap and go like 0.005 right now, and check harden normals and enable angle limiting method and switch this to arc, the outer miter. So you can see we have some nice beveled edges, and we can tweak that a little bit more if you want more smoothness, and of course we can add some segments. So you can go all the way to 3 segments and create these smooth edges right here. So that'll be for the wall. And now for the roof, I want to go with subdivision surface because I really want this more rounded. So press Ctrl 2 to enable subdivision, shade smooth, and now tab in, and we can first of all go to the edge select, alt click here to select the loop, press Ctrl B to bevel this. Let's reduce with the mouse wheel and do something like this, and now create some supporting loops here and on the other side as well, and we can create 2 cuts here and scale them on Y. So we now have nice rounded roof, and it really fits the style that I'm going for, this kind of a stylized, very rounded, toy-like illustration style. So we can move on now and create details for the house, like the door and the window. So let's go with the door. We can select the original house mesh, go to the face select by pressing 3, click the face, and now by holding Ctrl we can add to the loop. Now we'll just press Shift D to duplicate, Enter P to separate, and we created a geometry like that. And now press Alt E and extrude along normals. So we have some nice door frame. And we can now select this loop here, press G and X to extrude it outside a little bit. And there you have it. I think this will work nicely. Maybe we'll need to make it a little bit lower. It's very easy to do that. Just select both of these objects, go to the vertex select, hold Z to switch to the wireframe view, select all these vertices and just move it down. And we can move this down as well. Okay, and now for the door, let's select the house again, select this n-gon, Shift D, P to separate, select the new object and just extrude. Okay, and we'll create some kind of doorknob here, so tab out, Shift right click the cursor here, add a round cube, and I don't think we need to do anything with this, just shade smooth and make it smaller. So just scale it down, maybe move it out a little bit. So that'll be the door. Now let's move for the window. Right now we just need to select this face, press Shift D, P to separate again. And I really like to use this kind of duplicate of the original geometry. It really makes all the modeling and process much easier, especially for some blocking out purposes. So let's inset this, delete the inside face and extrude this one out. And we can now duplicate the edge from this. Select the new edge, tab in, extrude on Y, select, move in the center, and we can eyeball this. And do it like that. Okay, and now some window. And maybe we won't need that. We can just assign the window material to the house object. So this will be fine, I think. Okay, and now let's do some chimney on the side here. So we can move all of this a little bit to the side. And again, we'll duplicate some geometry. So tab in, select this edge, Shift D, P to separate. tab in, select all, go to the vertex select so we can see where the vertices are, S and X, scale this down. Now we can extrude on the Y, maybe make it a little bit larger. Oh, we'll see. Okay, so select A and extrude this up so we have some chimney there. Maybe move this out a little bit more. And now we'll make a cut here and one here and move this out a little bit to create this kind of detail there. And right here we can make a new cut up, go to the face select, select the loop by alt clicking, alt E to extrude along normals. You can use S to scale evenly and hold shift to adjust. And now we can do inset here and extrude down. And since we are duplicating from the original house object, you can see the bevel got transferred to all of these other objects as well. So that's very useful. Sometimes you don't need to do it twice. And now I just want to dissolve this extra geometry, so Ctrl X, and that's our chimney. So one last thing for the house details I want to do is to add some shingles. So shift right click here, shift A, mesh plane. Let's make this smaller, resize on the Y axis and extrude. And let's make this smooth and let's transfer that bevel. So we have some nice beveled corners there. So by shift clicking the house, we can press Ctrl L and modifiers, and they'll get our modifiers transferred here. And we can of course enable auto smooth for the hardened normals. And now we can snap this to the roof. So just switch here to the face select, press G, by holding Ctrl you can snap this there, but we'll need additionally enable rotation and projection. So G, by holding Ctrl you can snap this, and press Alt D to create a link duplicate, and by holding Ctrl move this into a new place. And this way we can create like a few shingles here and there, and they'll create that stylized roof look we are going for right here. So okay, I think this will be enough. If you want to have this on the other side as well, you can add a mirror modifier there. So yeah, let's do that. Let's snap the cursor here in the center and now create an empty object. So Shift A, empty plane axis. And now I want to first of all modify the bevel here a little bit so it's not that sharp, so it's more rounded like this. And then I want to move this on the Z axis, so G, Z twice, and move this down a little bit. They'll update all of the others as well, but you can see modifiers aren't updated. But first of all, let me apply a mirror modifier here, and as a mirror object we'll choose this empty, so they'll make the shingle on the other side as well. And now we can select all of these, and with this one as last, Ctrl L and transfer the modifiers as well. They'll update the bevel modifier and transfer the mirror modifier as well. So that's about that. And let me see if I forgot something. Yeah, we can do some kind of bricks on the chimney there as well. So shift right click here and let's create the cube. Tab in, make this smaller and scale on the Y. I will leave the brick as is so we can do it around the corners as well. Now just press G, Shift Z and move it in place. GZ to move it up. So this will be the base for our brick, and I really want it to have that bevel too, so we can just transfer the modifier from the chimney and enable that auto smooth here as well. And now we'll need to adjust that brick a little bit because this won't snap correctly as the origin point is in the middle. So if you press G and Control, you will see the snap isn't very good here, but it probably rotated. So if we now tab in and press G and Z twice, you will see that this is the actual Z axis, and we can make use of that and just move it here in place. And now just correct this on the X axis. And now if you Alt D and hold Control, you can snap it and move around. So let's do some bricks here and there. And you can of course bring them here as well. That's why I left the shape like that, so we can do these kind of corners there. And I think this will be enough. So that's for the house details. I don't think we missed anything yet, so let's finish up with the terrain and we can move on to create some materials. And we misplaced our doorknob a little bit, so let me fix that and make it larger so it's a little bit more like bulky and stylized. Now let's make the terrain more interesting, so select the plane, tab in, and we'll do bevel, so Ctrl B then V and make this rounded. And let's increase number of segments with the mouse wheel, something like 6 or 7 segments. There'll be enough, I think. Okay, that'll do, and let's select all and extrude this. Okay, and we can enable that auto smooth and enable smooth shading, so shade smooth. And I want to move this down a little bit and create those grass patches here and there, like this, with some foliage around and some stylized grass. I will again duplicate some geometry here, so tab in, Shift D, P to separate, create a new geometry, and we'll slice this up a little bit. Go to the wireframe view, top view by pressing number 7, and let's create a cut here. So K for a knife tool, C to make it go perpendicular and make a cut. And now here as well on the other side, we can stop like here and go in this direction, and we can delete this face here. So these will be our grass patches, and we can leave it going underneath the house. I don't really care about that, but I don't like this empty space here, so yeah, let's fix that. Let's actually make a new cut here and connect this by pressing F. Okay, we'll do some additional bevels, so select these vertices that you see in the corners, press Ctrl B then V and make bevels, but with lower number of segments, something like 4 or 5. That'll be enough. Select all and extrude. Now we can transfer some of that beveling, so yeah, let's transfer bevel from chimney, so Ctrl L, modifiers, and additionally we can modify the size of that bevel. Careful about the overlaps, maybe go a little bit higher here and move this down. And a little bit of scale to create this offset on the side here. So I think this will look fine. Now let's create some bushes around, and they'll be very easy to do with the meta balls. If you look here, these are just like green blobs sitting there. So shift right click the cursor here, shift A, and create a meta ball. If you haven't used it before, I really recommend that. It's very they can be a lot of fun. So let's scale this down. And if you now start to duplicate these meta balls, so Alt D and duplicate, you will see they kind of snap and bleed to each other. And we can make use of that and create some kind of bush blob here, they'll give this foliage very stylized look. Okay, so that'll be our bush, and right now let's just shift click here to select all of these, select the original one as last, and let's parent this. So now if we move this, it moves everything at once. And now shift right bracket to select all, alt D, and move this here to have another one like that, and maybe one smaller here. Okay, this will look fine. And now for the grass leaves, let's create a new plane. Let's scale it down. We can rotate this on the X, so RX 90. Move this up. Scale on X a little bit. Move this down, and we can look from the side to go to the wireframe view. The metal balls get in the way a little bit, but don't worry about that, and just extrude some shape here by control right clicking. Now go back to the solid view. We can just modify this like that. Extrude, tab out, and press Ctrl 2 to create that subdivision. Shade smooth, and maybe move this down a little bit. And now just Shift D, Shift Z, rotate in place, scale, and you get my point. And now with the snapping enabled, you can just move this around, scale it, and let's just distribute few of those around. So Alt D, and by holding Control you can snap them to the ground. Now the one last detail I want to create is a little antenna here to make things a little bit more interesting. So Shift right click, press Shift A, and add a cylinder. Let's reduce vertices to something like 12. Let's make this much smaller. And now select the top face, bring it up a little bit, snap the cursor there, and that's for the cylinder. So I will just auto smooth this and enable smooth shading. Let's bring this up to at least 35 degrees. And now press Shift A, and let's do mesh and single vert. If you don't have this, go into the preferences and activate the extra objects add-on, so you have all of these options here. Add a single vert. Now with the vertex select, extrude this in any way you want. Now we can select this, maybe rotate it a little bit. Okay, that'll be fine. Now tab out, add a skin modifier, tab back in, select all with A, Control A to reduce the radius, and we can press Control 1, enable smooth shading. We have to do that in here in the skin modifier. And I feel like we are done here, so maybe just parent this so we can move it just by moving the cylinder around. And let's shift right click here, add the circle. Now make this 12 vertices as well, tab in, make it it smaller. F to fill, E to extrude, Shift S to snap the cursor there. Now add a cube, make it smaller. Scale on the x-axis, select these two top edges, Ctrl B and bevel them. Now we'll just enable auto smooth there, shade this smooth, and maybe inset this to create some kind of detail. Here I want the smooth shading as well, with auto smooth enabled. Let's do this for 35 degrees. So we have some kind of mailbox there. Can maybe make this smaller, move this down a little bit or up. Well, really you have to play around here a little bit. So I think this will be fine. If you really want to go into detail here, we can like create a plane there, rotate on X, and now just extrude. Okay, I think this will work nicely. Okay, so that's about the modeling. Let's create some materials and some lighting. Press Shift S to reset the cursor to world origin, and now press plane and scale this up to create the background. We will need to move this down a little bit. We can use the ISOCAM add-on again. If you don't have it, check it out in the description. Download the Python file, go into preferences and load up the Python file into your add-ons by clicking on the install. So you have these options right here, and now we can enable true ISOCAM. Maybe for this kind of illustration, go into the output settings, set to something like 4:3 ratio, but you can choose whatever you want, of course. And now just move this up a little bit, so GZ, and maybe go to the camera settings and change the orthographic scale to something like 16, so it doesn't look so large there. So this is our camera setup, and now we can hold Z, go to the material preview, and let's set up something. First of all, I want to create the background material so we can see our objects a little bit better. Go for the blue color here. Now we can leave the ground white, let's just call it ground, and maybe we can make it a little bit darker here, like that. Now select the grass object, let's name this grass, and I want to go with this kind of green tone that has a lot of blue in it. I really like the look of that. Okay, and maybe a little bit darker. Okay, and I want to set the same material for the metal balls and for the grass leaves as well. Now we can click the house, create wall material, and let's go for this like a cream pinkish color. And we can use the same for the chimney probably. And for the roof, we can choose the wall material, but duplicate this, call the roof, and just go a little bit darker, maybe more reds in there, like that. And now for the shingles, we want to choose the roof material again, but duplicate this and make it either a lot lighter or darker, whatever you want. I prefer a lighter here. And with the bricks as well, let's cross-reference. I think the chimney is the same color as the house, so we can leave it like that and just choose the wall, create a duplicate, and make this darker for the bricks. And now for the window, we can choose maybe the roof material here, so we don't have so many colors going on in the scene. And we'll see the door has the same like a brown color, and there's a little bit of pink on the door, so we can go for the roof color here as well. But I don't know, maybe let's create a wood material and make this even a little bit darker. And let's choose this for the window as well. And now for the window itself, we can just go to the edit mode, select this face, create a new material slot, create a new material. Let's call this window and click assign. And we can go for a blue color here and leave it like that. I don't want any reflections there, any glass shader, anything. So this is really just a stylized look there. And we can go for a yellow doorknob. Like that, and the same here. And let's create the pink for the door. And here as well. And for the antenna, we can just go gray or something like really darker gray. Doesn't really matter that much. Okay, go to the camera view. So these are our materials, and now it'll all go down to lighting. So let's press Shift A, create a new area light. Let's bring this up. Now let's set this to like 1500, so it's a bit stronger. And enable scene lights and scene world. Hold period and switch the pivot point to 3D cursor, and now we can just rotate this X45 minus and RZ45. So we have some basic backlight, but I really want some strong shadows and a little bit of a sunlight here. So let's add a sunlight and maybe just rotate this on Y like 15 degrees or maybe 20, and rotate on the Z 45 degrees. So it goes from the side there, and let's ramp this up to something like 3, maybe even 4. Okay, and I want to change the color of the sunlight to a little yellowish tone, and the backlight here, let's make it larger and let's set this to blue. So the idea is that there is like a sky light coming from behind, and now I want to really bring up more lights into the scene. So let's duplicate this one, press R, Z 90 degrees. Okay, and now RX twice to bring this lower and play with the distance. Let's make this a little bit orange or pink. So you get my point. I'm trying to create like a warm sunlight here with sharp shadows coming from the sunlight there, but at the same time trying to create those little gradients and those fill lights from the side that like simulate the reflections of the world and the sky and stuff. So that's the idea behind this. And now we can bring this to the other side as well. And now for the world color, so click here in the world tab and let's just bring some blue into the mix, make it much lighter so it really feels those shadows and mix with the light and kind of blends all of it together. Okay, and now we can switch this to cycles render, GPU, and for the color management we can give this like a medium high contrast or even high contrast look. And let's preview this rendered. So yeah, I really like this so far. Maybe I will tweak some things a little bit, like the color of this roof and maybe the color and strength of these lights here. So maybe this one could be more pink, and this a little bit more orange but stronger. Yeah, so you get my point. You can play around a little bit with the scale of the things, maybe make this antenna a little bit larger. So switch back to the medium point, make it larger. Let's parent this and make it larger as well. So yeah, just play with some scale around, and find some better colors, better lighting, whatever you want. Basically, you can play around with the background as well. And this is your illustration. I hope you like this one. If you're new to the channel and you really want to see more like this, hit that subscribe and that bell button so you get notified when I release something new. And thank you all for watching, and have a wonderful day.